I sat quietly at the polished dining table in my parents' house, watching my sister Diana command the room as she always did. Her wine glass danced in her hand as she regaled everyone with tales of her latest corporate victories. "The acquisition netted us $50 million, she declared, basking in our parents' admiration. "Sterling Tech is officially the fastest-growing software company in the state. My name is Meera Patel, and for the past 5 years I've been the family disappointment. At least that's what they think," I murmured under my breath. "And what about you, Meera?" Diana's attention swung toward me, her smile tinged with that familiar superiority. "Still tinkering with that tiny startup of yours." What was it called?" "Shadowbox Digital," I replied evenly, sipping water. "No wine tonight. I needed my head clear for tomorrow." "Ah yes, but just a little web design firm, correct?" Diana said, waving her hand as if swatting away a bothersome insect. "How quaint." Mom jumped in, trying to smooth things over. "Not everyone can run a company like Sterling Tech. Dear Meera is doing her best with her resources. If only they knew what Shadowbox really was." Behind our modest downtown office and the humble website my family occasionally glimpsed, my company was a leading cybersecurity firm, trusted by government agencies and multinational corporations, including some even bigger than Sterling Tech. But Diana had always been the golden child. Flawless grades, a top-tier MBA, a meteoric tech career. When she launched Sterling Tech 6 years ago, Mom and Dad reorganized their finances to provide her seed funding. They never once asked what I was working on. "I've been reading about Sterling's new security platform," Dad said proudly. "Truly groundbreaking, Diana. You're transforming the industry." I suppressed a grin, remembering the critical flaws our team had uncovered in her system just last week. We had sent her a discreet warning through intermediaries. But of course, a boutique firm like ours couldn't possibly know better than Diana. "Speaking of transforming the industry," Diana continued, a sly glint in her eyes, "we're finalizing a massive merger tomorrow, one of the largest in state history." She glanced at me knowingly. "I'm sure you understand the importance of confidentiality, Meera. Though your little web design firm probably never signs anything like that." My phone buzzed quietly, a note from my "So, everything is ready for tomorrow. Board approved. Should I send final docs to their lawyers?" "What's that, dear?" Mom asked, noticing my distraction. "Just a client issue," I said lightly. "Small business websites, you know how it is." Diana laughed, sharp and dismissive. "Oh, I remember those days. Staying up late over tiny projects. That's what separates us, isn't it?" I always aimed higher. I tapped a quick response. "Send everything. Meeting at 9 a.m. Shadowbox Digital's true scope was known to almost no one. Publicly, a humble web firm. Privately, a cybersecurity juggernaut operating across multiple subsidiaries. 3 floors of our downtown HQ housed over 200 of the industry's best programmers and security specialists. And quietly, over the past year, we had been acquiring shares in Sterling Tech through shell companies. Diana's revolutionary platform had critical vulnerabilities that would soon become apparent. Her empire was about to falter, unless Shadowbox intervened. "Another glass," Mom offered, reaching for the bottle. Diana beamed. "Success should always be celebrated. And Meera, if you ever want tips on growing a business, I'd be happy to share. Even Sterling's smallest division probably manages more funds than your whole company." I glanced at my phone. Latest valuation: $2.3 billion. Sterling Tech's market cap: less than half that. "How kind of you," I said softly. "Actually, I have a few expansion meetings to get to." "Tomorrow, huh?" Diana raised her eyebrows with mock curiosity. "Upgrading to a bigger office. Hiring an assistant at last." Dad chuckled. "Now, Diana, don't be harsh. Not everyone can reach your level of success." I thought about the pile of documents waiting in my real office. Merger contracts, board approvals, and most deliciously, the papers that would make Diana answer to me. By this time tomorrow, Sterling Tech would officially be under Shadowbox Digital. You're right, I said, standing. I should head home. Big day ahead. Diana lifted her glass in a sarcastic toast. To modest wins and humble dreams. As I drove, my mind drifted back 5 years, to the night I decided to hide Shadowbox's true power from my family. It had been another dinner, right after Diana launched Sterling Tech. She had spent the evening extolling her brilliance, her vision, her inevitable dominance in the tech world. I tried to explain my own plans, an innovative cybersecurity venture, but she cut me off mid-sentence. "Oh, sweetie," she said, patting my hand. "Cybersecurity is so complicated. Stick to something simple like making websites. Know your limits." And that's exactly what I did. On the surface, Shadowbox Digital appeared as a small web development firm. A modest office, a handful of developers maintaining the facade. Behind closed doors, I built a company far beyond anything Diana could imagine. My phone buzzed as I pulled into my garage. Another note from my final board confirmation. They have no idea who's really taking over. You should see their org chart. They still have you reporting to Diana. I smiled, picturing her reaction tomorrow. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's letting them think they're right until the moment they realize how completely wrong they've been. The next morning I stood in my real office, 40 floors above the city. The tiny web design office my family knew about was visible from here, a perfect metaphor for how little they understood me. "Ready." James Miso appeared at the doorway. "Sterling's executive team is in the main conference room." I straightened my tailored suit, a far cry from the casual clothes I wore to family dinners. "Has Diana arrived?" "Just walked in. You should see her face, trying to figure out why the meeting's happening at a company she's never heard of." I picked up my tablet, savoring the culmination of 5 years of work. When I entered the room, Diana stood at the window, back to the door. She turned, and recognition flickered across her face, followed by confusion. "Mara, what are you doing here? This is private." I walked to the head of the table, placing my tablet down. "Actually, I called this meeting." Diana laughed, but the sound was strained. "Don't be absurd. I'm here to meet the CEO of Atlas Dynamics." Atlas Dynamics, one of Shadowbox's many shell companies, was the entity negotiating the merger. "Atlas Dynamics is part of Shadowbox Digital," I said calmly, nodding to James to begin. "My company." The room went silent. Diana's expression shifted rapidly. Confusion, disbelief, terror. "That's impossible," she stammered. "Shadowbox is just a small web design firm. You make websites for cafes and boutiques." "Exactly," I said. "But maybe you should have checked who's been quietly buying Sterling Tech stock, or who sent you that security audit last month. The one you ignored because it came from a tiny consulting firm." Her champagne glass slipped, shattering on the floor. I tapped my tablet, revealing Shadowbox's true structure. Shadowbox Digital is the parent of 7 tech companies, including Atlas Dynamics. We lead in advanced cybersecurity, with a market value of $2.3 billion. The Sterling Tech executives shuffled their papers, stunned into silence. The board members murmured among themselves, exchanging stunned glances. Diana stood frozen, her eyes locked on the org chart displayed before her. "As of this morning," I said, my voice calm, "Shadowbox Digital controls 51% of Sterling Tech shares. This isn't a negotiation meeting. It's the announcement of a merger." "You can't do this," Diana whispered, disbelief lacing her tone. "Oh, I can," I replied. "Your board approved everything earlier today. They were eager to accept our offer once we showed them the critical security flaws in your platform." Her face burned red. "Those warnings were from you. We tried to alert you privately. You just ignored us." I turned to address the room. "Sterling Tech will now operate as a division of Shadowbox Digital. We'll correct the security issues, integrate the valuable parts of your technology, and reorganize the management team." "Reorganize?" Her voice wavered. "I'm supposed to be CEO. Not anymore. I slid a document toward her. Your resignation letter is already prepared. Don't worry, the golden parachute is generous. The next hour passed in a haze of signatures, formalities, and stunned silence. Diana sat frozen, unable to process the reality of what was happening. When the board cleared the room, she finally turned to me. Why? Why all this secrecy? Why act so small all these years? I perched on the edge of the conference table. Do you remember 5 years ago when you told me to know my limits? You, Mom, Dad. You all decided what I was capable of without ever asking what I was really doing. Consider this a lesson. No, she whispered. Revenge. Call it business, I corrected. Sterling Tech is a strong acquisition despite its flaws. The fact that it's personally satisfying, that's just a bonus. My phone buzzed. A message from Mom. Diana just called in tears. What happened? What did you do? I handed the phone to Diana. They still think you're the successful one. Want to tell them together. That evening, family dinner felt completely different. I sat at the same table, but Diana was quiet, picking at her food. I don't understand, Dad kept saying. How can Shadowbox be worth billions? You work out of that tiny office downtown. That office is just the public face, I explained. Our real headquarters is in Hamilton Tower, top 10 floors north side. You can even see it from here. Mom's hand trembled as she reached for her wine glass. And Diana, I added. Sterling Tech is in good hands as part of Shadowbox. She chose to step down as CEO. Step down is one way to put it, Diana muttered under her breath. You could have told us, Dad accused. All these years, pretending you were running a small business. I raised an eyebrow. Would you have believed me? You never asked about my work except to compare it unfavorably to Diana's. A heavy silence filled the room. Years of assumptions, condescension, and dismissals hung between us like a shadow. Finally, Diana spoke. I underestimated you. All of us did. Yes, I said simply. You did. In the months that followed, Sterling Tech was fully integrated into Shadowbox. Security flaws were repaired, the technology improved, and the company thrived under new leadership. Diana joined a smaller tech firm, hopefully having learned humility along the way. Our parents stopped comparing us, though they never fully grasped how their underachieving daughter built a billion-dollar empire right under their noses. I kept the small web design office downtown as a reminder that appearances can be deceiving. Sometimes the greatest success is the one nobody sees coming. Occasionally, I drive past it on my way to the real headquarters, remembering Diana's words. Such a tiny startup. Smile. The best way to respond to underestimation isn't to argue. It's to let people believe they're right. Until the perfect moment shows them just how wrong they were. Now, when people ask how I achieved this, I tell the truth. The biggest victories often start small, hidden behind a simple facade, built with patience and strategy. And sometimes, the sweetest triumph isn't proving anyone wrong. It's watching them finally realize how wrong they've been all along.